Well, this is attempt number 2 on week 7 of recording my weekly reflection videos. I'm Pastor Jacob, and this is my 7th week as the pastor of Blue Mound United Methodist Church. And this one is a heck of one to reflect on. There's a lot that happened this last week, and not just in the news, but here locally. Basically, by the time Thursday got around, I got to my desk Thursday. I had spent all of about 30 minutes actually at my desk because one thing or another kept coming up throughout the week. A lot of wonderful ministry happened. Got to visit a lot of people. Several people had surgeries, and I really enjoyed those times. But the rhythm of the week never really got into a groove. It was just one thing after another, and there was quite a lot that happened. And in my first attempt of recording this video, I listed all those things, and I don't know if I necessarily want to do that. But I will say that I did notice there's a bit of a correlation between the rhythm and patterns of our week, the stress levels associated with all the things that we do, and our ability to clearly communicate in the midst of delivering a sermon. I've noticed a couple of times where I've preached after big events that happen in the world, and my speech pattern is a little bit broken. My ability to finish complete sentences, let alone complete paragraphs, is hindered. I preach no notes. I don't read from a manuscript. It doesn't suit my style well. I do a lot of conjugating the congregation. Try saying that 5 times fast. I read how people are responding to things, and I try and use that to enhance the sermon, knowing which directions to go and which directions to move on from. But that's a risk. It's a risk to go no notes, and when you have a week like I had last week, it didn't. Much like right now, my speech patterns in my sermon were broken. I wasn't able to clearly communicate the points I was trying to get across, and I think that that's directly related to not only the news events, but just the general rhythm of my week last week. And so I'm trying to do a little bit better of my rhythm this week. Last week I wasn't even able to get these videos uploaded, my sermon and my reflection video, because of problems with my camera. I got those sorted out just now. That's why this is attempt number 2 at recording this. But my sermon yesterday was supposed to be about how God enables and encourages us to do amazing things, how we then, in following Jesus, can enable and encourage other people to do things beyond their wildest imagination. And this is set up against the passage where Jesus and Peter walk on the water. It's quite a brilliant passage, and it's a very encouraging thing to encourage you to step out of the boat, to try something new, to take risks. But I fear it didn't quite connect. This coming week's sermon is going to be a message that I'm calling "Even the Crumbs," and it's going to be about a message about God's abundance in mercy and grace and inclusiveness. And it comes from the passage in Matthew chapter 15, verses 21 to 28, where Jesus has somewhat of a troubling exchange with a Canaanite woman, where on the surface it looks and it really easily could read as though Jesus is calling this woman a dog and kind of dismissing her. But I have a perspective on it that I think you might find interesting, and actually have this passage have a rather inclusive meaning. And so I hope you catch it next week, whether it's in person here at Blue Mound or by watching the upload here on YouTube. So I'm really quite encouraged about that. With regard to the events on Friday and Saturday in Charlottesville, North Carolina, I certainly don't want to be seen as being political or partisan in any way, but I do need to say something about it that goes beyond politics, that is a Christian message. And that message is this: that supremacy in any form is contrary to the Christian message. Supremacy in any form, whether it be racism, partisan politics, holding one over the other, whether it be what's the vampire and the werewolf called? Team Edward and Team Jacob. If superiority in any form, and I don't want to dismiss, make light of the very real and painful reality of racism in our country by also saying Team Edward and Team Jacob. That's not. I'm not trying to be dismissive, but I am saying this: superiority in any form flies directly in the face of Jesus' words when he says, "The first shall be last." And he also says, "Whatever you've done for the least of these, you do for me." And so it has no place in our church. It has no place in this country, in this world. I believe it's sin. And I, as a baptized Christian, have pledged to do my part to resist evil and injustice in whatever form they may present themselves, and this is one of those forms. So I encourage you to do the same. I know that there are people in our churches that have any number of different viewpoints, and I'm not trying to condemn any individual. But what must be said is that supremacy in any form, racism in any form, is contrary to the Christian message. And God's grace is abundant even for those persons. And that God can bring wholeness into that broken aspect of our country and of our world, and even of individuals. God can redeem. God does redeem. And redemption can be for us. There's a letter from the bishop, several of the bishops in the United Methodist Church, that you can find the links to those all over the place. I'll try and put one of those in the description below this video to have a more eloquent way of responding to the events of this past week. If you've been personally affected and you need somebody to talk to, I am certainly available to listen. Just reach out. No matter what side of what perspective you may have on the events of last week, if you need to talk to somebody, please talk to somebody. And like I said, I'm available to listen. May God bless you and keep you.